Hi, this is Sandy of Sandy Pie Creations, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use a hybrid template in Photoshop. I am using Photoshop Creative Cloud 2015. You'll probably have your desktop set up a little bit differently than I do, but for the most part everything here is everything here. So hopefully we can make everything work together. So what I'll show you is when we open up a one of my templates, you will have always on the top you'll find your cut lines, and if there's any fold lines for that project you'll find them right up there on top, followed by everything all on its own separate layer, and then one layer where everything is there. So if you wanted to just put everything with the same paper, everything will be right there for you. I'm going to switch this around so we have all our other layers, and the all one is turned off because sometimes it creates just a little bit of an edge that when you go to print is not the most attractive thing. So because we're in Photoshop, I can just pick the layers that I want out of my folder here. And so I have opened my file manager. I have all my I have a folder open, and I'm just going to drag everything into Photoshop. And of course it's going to put everything behind what I'm working on because I didn't select my top layer before I started dragging in. But that's fine. All the problems to have, that's the least. Okay, so everything's in here. The darkest color I was going to put way up here on my centers. I'll just turn that off for now. My next darkest I was going to clip to the largest. There's two ways to do it in Photoshop. You can right click and create clipping mask, or you can Alt, and right here if you're just between the two layers it turns into this little square and the arrow pointing down, and it will clip to it. From here I like to have a little more detail showing on my from my paper, so holding the shift key down and dragging a corner will allow me to scale that down without distorting the pattern. And we've already got it clipped, so we just enter or do that check mark and it'll get us going. The next color I want to use is the hexagons. I'm going to put it on my next largest, scale that down holding the shift key and grabbing a corner. That looks pretty good. Give it a little bit of a tilt so maybe we have a little more of a honeycomb in every corner, tip of the flowers. And again, Alt or right click and create clipping mask. From there I want to use my next darkest color on the third layer, which is up here. Alt and click, create clipping mask, drag that in, give us a little more pattern we can see. And then I'm going to go with my arrow pattern here, drag that up to my next smallest, shift and drag that corner in, get some good detail, maybe give it a little bit of a twist. Alt and click, create clipping mask, and then our lightest color. We are going to drag all the way up to flower 1, the smallest, Oh, wrong button. Alt, click. And Shift, grab the corners. Squeeze it down. I seem to have an extra paper. Okay, and then what I'm going to do for these centers is going to make them all the same color. And to do that, I would just collect all three, right click, merge layers, turn the layer on that I'm going to put on them, right click, create clipping mask. No, that's the wrong one. On the paper, right click, clipping mask, or Alt, get the little box, and there we go. So everybody's good. And then from there, I'm going to select my cut lines, and normally I would change them to a soft light, and then change the opacity down to a layer where I can just see a little bit of a line, but it's not a real harsh line, and I would adjust that depending on the project, especially if I'm going to hand cut it. I want to know where my edges are. The only problem with that is then you get to a paper that has a lot of white on it, and you can't really see, except for in the dark areas, where that that cut line is. And if you're cutting it by hand, it gets a little frustrating. So for those situations, I would change it back to normal, and then just keep cutting that opacity down until I've got a good edge on it that I could see to cut, because I'm going to cut on or inside that line by hand. And it still looks good on my darker colored items. If you were going to do this, and that's something you do more often when you are hand cutting things. If you were going to cut with the Silhouette Studio, you wouldn't necessarily need to do that. It might actually be a detriment to your project, because Silhouette cut and print isn't always the most exact thing. So if your cutter's a little bit more sensitive to that stuff, or you don't have the best of luck, I would actually just turn those off completely, because once you can put your cut lines in Silhouette without having to have those cut lines on. So from here, I would actually, I don't have it in here, I would run the WinDesign action save to print. I find that it helps cut down on the amount of ink that I'm using considerably. It makes a better final project. Just looking at them, it is completely worth the $7, $12, I'm not sure how much it is, but for the amount that you will save in ink costs and just in having a really good project, I would absolutely run that action before I go any further. And that action is available in both PSE Elements and for Photoshop. Otherwise, I would just save as. I would save it as a JPEG in the correct place. I have made this twice now, one in Elements and one in Photoshop, so I'll just make that little change. I thought I put a 2 on it. I want to keep your baseline standard when you save. I would save at least 10. You can go all the way up to 12. This doesn't matter. And you're going to click OK. And then you are set from there. I would open it in the Silhouette Studio or just file and print, so that way I could cut by hand. One of the things that I like to do sometimes when I'm doing these, and I can show you in Photoshop because I can't remember how to do it in Elements, maybe, is I would put an inner glow to give this a little more dimension to make it look like I was inking the edges. And for whatever reason, I don't know why. There we go. I want to do an inner glow. I'm going to change this to linear burn. And then I'm going to take this color. Well, for each flower you can do it differently depending on what you have. I like to take the color the main color of my object and see how it gives it that edge that looks like you inked it, because I am not very good at that. Adjust your opacity a little and then just a little bit more, because when you go to print it will actually make it darker than what it looks like on the screen. But that was the one thing I wanted to show you. And you could copy this layer style and put it on all your other layers as a good starting point. See, I like the way that looks already. But now that I'm over here more in the blues, it makes it look dirty. So I would come to my dark blue one here and I would change this color to be the blue that's in there. That's better than the gray. And then one more here. And then if you want to go into the centers, they probably really don't even need it. Because really all it's ended up doing is doing it on your edges there. But that's just something to play around with and decide how you want to do, because that is the beauty of hybrid, is you can take what is already beautiful from fantastic designers and then tweak it a little and do what you want. But then again, like I said, file, save as a JPEG at a high quality, and then if you're going to, you could print it from here, again running that action, or you could, as I'll show you in another video, open it in Silhouette Studio and use the cutting files with it. I hope that I have helped teach you how to show you how to do this, and not confused you even more. Thanks so much for watching. Please feel free to subscribe to my channels for more tutorials and step-by-step instructions how to put together my templates. And happy hybriding, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.